make for that Browns defense. It becomes a nightmare.
You put him across from Myles Garrett, and you have this defensive line. This can be a great team. Not a good team. This can be a great team.
I don't know. Last year, it already seemed like the Browns were a great team. Remember, they've never won the division. By far their best performance since returning to the NFL in 1999. Divisional round. Keys clapping. If I'm a Browns fan, I'm doing more than that. Keyshawn, J. Will, and Zubin. Bart in for Jay Williams. Fellas, let's get right into it. It's pretty rare for a team to have 2 first overall picks on a roster. The Browns now have 3. They got Myles Garrett, they got Baker Mayfield, and now they have Jadeveon Clowney. Clowney signing yesterday. Our Diana Rossini, you heard her there, just coming back from the commercial break. She was on the show a couple of days ago, and she said, watch for it. It's percolating. Key, though, this is going to be Clowney's 4th team in 4 years. Houston, Seattle, Tennessee, now Cleveland. Let's hear from Clowney on his sky-high, literally and figuratively, expectations.
I still can dominate in this league. I know that. But if I ever reach that my max potential or getting back there like I feel now, man, they say the sky's the limit, but it's probably higher than that. They got a great team. They're definitely on a winning team. You saw they won 12 games last year, right? More than what my team I played for won last year, I think.
Really? Really?
Shots
so
fired,
funny.
right? Shots fired.
I think this is going to be great for them, though, Zubin. I think when you think about it, Jadeveon Clowney, the Browns wanted him before he signed with Tennessee. They wanted to give him a multi-year deal, but for whatever reason, he wanted to go back with Vrabel, who was his defensive coordinator at the Houston Texans. So he thought he could get back to that all-pro, Pro Bowl type player, but he didn't. As Bart reminded me, he only played a handful of games for him last year. He missed half the season because he had something wrong with his knee. If he can stay healthy, this gives them 2 guys on the edge that is going to give left and right tackles a nightmare. Offense coordinators are going to have to figure out how to block these 2 guys. Now, look, you look at the production statistically, and you say to yourself, for a guy who was a number 1 overall pick statistically, stat-wise, sack-wise, he hasn't given you what you thought he was going to give you, Bart, because he just hasn't gotten there. And that's okay. Doesn't mean that he's a bust. Doesn't mean he's not a good football player. It just means that he hasn't given you what you thought you were going to get. He still gets the quarterback off his spot and his marking. You know, that's important. Harassing the quarterback is important. Making him push the pocket, as Bart knows, is important. Holding on to the football longer is important. He's 1 or 2 steps away from getting sacks, and that's been pretty much the way it is been throughout his entire career. He forces the run. He plays the run game. He's not a slouch. He just isn't that guy that's going to give you double-digit sacks every single year.
Well, he talks about, hey, man, like this team went farther than my team. Well, that was partly his fault, right, because he wasn't available. And that's been the knock on him, his durability. He came off of that microfracture surgery, and it's something that's always scary. So people will rent him. They'll treat him like a rental car. They'll bring him in, give him a incentive-based lace contract, but they won't buy it. They won't buy the car. And they don't buy it because they can't trust him. The best ability is availability. Now, what he can be if he's at his best, is a great, edge setter as well, because this is a team that struggled in stopping the run. But you think about pairing him with Myles Garrett, you got Sheldon Richardson in the inside. So now it allows you to be able to try and help this secondary by not being able to have to blitz to try and get pressure on the quarterback. But he has to be healthy, and you will see how he fits in within this scheme. I always thought the best he ever was in a 3-4 where he was able to be moved around, play the 5 technique, use his athleticism and quickness inside on certain downs when he can slide inside. But he's going to be out there, and he's going to have an opportunity to kind of prove himself. He's only 28 years old. And let's see if he is successful, if the Browns want to give him a multi-year contract.
The last time that I could think 2 number 1 overall picks were on the same defensive line, I believe, was Big Daddy Dan Wilkerson and Bruce Smith of the Washington Redskins at the time, which is now on the Washington football team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think that's the only 2 guys that I can think of. I'm sitting here in my head trying to think of 2 number 1 overall picks that have –
But usually when you have 2 overall picks, one of them has been a disappointment. And that's usually the case. And Clowney has been good, but he's been a disappointment. You think about, he came out with Khalil Mack, right? It was between him and Khalil Mack. Khalil Mack has had the greater career. He's had the more dominant career. He got off to a slow start, but he played with great players before. So he played with great players in J.J. Watt, and he was able to produce. But let's see if he can, do it in the second half of his career, because I feel like maybe Clowney's best days are behind him, because even though he's 28, every time I hear these, knee injuries, you understand, like we remember Stoudemire had that microfracture surgery. It's not a lot of people that's, built for longevity when you have microfracture surgery. I believe he had it like in his second year of his career. Now, is it a great name to add to the defense? Yes, but I don't know how much of an upgrade he is over Olivier Vernon, who struggled with being healthy as well.
It all just depends on the eye of the beholder, right? I think when you look at Clowney, he's judged based on being the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah.
And people, they can't get it out of their mind. They can't get the Michigan hit in the backfield out of their mind. They're waiting for that
That's one
splash
play.
play.
Yeah.
But they're waiting for that.
Yeah.
And in his career, he hasn't really given you that. And I think, his departure in Houston, the way it ended, and him being moved to Seattle, and Seattle not giving him a long-term deal. So it's all those sort of things where sometimes players can overplay their hands as well. You think you're one thing when the NFL thinks you're another. And that's sometimes getting away. You think you're a $20 million defensive end when you're probably a $15 million defensive end, and then you let it get in the way, and then you become a $10 million defensive end. Yeah. Because you just, in your mind, your ego won't allow you to say, you know what, I'm really this type of player. I'm really not this. And it gets in the way. And so people automatically see that, and they form their opinions about you, and it lives with you for the rest of your career.
There's no question about it. A couple of things here. Of course, we are presented by Progressive Insurance. All of our guests on the Goodyear Hotline, including Aaron Goldhammer from our affiliate ESPN 850 in Cleveland. How is this playing in Cleveland? We'll talk about that with him in about 24 minutes from now. Last thing I would say, to Bart's point, availability and durability. Only once in Clowney's career has he started and played all 16 games. And to Key's point, he has never, and this is where Key's bringing up the whole first overall pick aura, never once had a double-digit sack season. Never once.
That's a lonely
He's been in the league
club,
since
Key,
2014.
Right? Number one, you number one, right? You understand the pressure? The pressure when you're number one.
I wasn't worried about no damn pressure.
Well, I'm just saying the pressure that's put on the number one guy is to be the best in that draft class.
Yeah.
He's not.
No, he's not. But he's got a fresh start with the team that really maybe could use him to get over the top. On the way, speaking of getting over the top, whoever drafts Mac Jones probably feels like Mac will eventually get him over the top. Mac Jones, remember him, the Alabama quarterback?
Mac Jones.
And the best endorsement he got came from a Heisman Trophy winner you might not expect. That's after Key has this from Cintas.
Today, people expect a new level of clean. Cintas provides a wide range of essential products and services that help businesses keep their facilities and employees clean and safe. Cintas will keep you well stocked with essentials, supplies like face masks,